Hello and how's it going, everyone? It is Skelzy here with the latest Bethesda news, rumors, and speculation. That's right, I don't have a face cam again in today's video. It seems like anytime I try to record a video, Sheogorath is randomly summoned and just decides my video won't line up with my audio on my face cam. But if I stream, it works perfectly even though I don't change any settings at all other than clicking the record button or the go live button. So I don't know. You're not here to hear me talk about my Daedric curses. You're here for that Bethesda news, and I have some very interesting Starfield-centric news for you all today. We got a Todd Howard blast from the past and something very recent from Emil to break down in today's video, and of course this all has to do with Starfield again, but let's not waste any more time and break down today's information. And we're going to start things off with the more recent information, and we're going to end today's video with a Todd Howard interview that it seems like the majority of the gaming community didn't even know happened. But to start things off, we got a tweet from Emil Padiuro just a couple days ago on July 3rd. And in case you don't know who Emil is, he is a design director for Bethesda Game Studios and has been a writer for Bethesda Game Studios for a long time. In fact, he wrote my favorite all-time Dark Brotherhood quest chain back in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and he does some good work. Some people don't like some of his writing and stuff in some of the more recent Bethesda games, but I still like him. I still think he does great work, and it seems like Starfield is going to be going all out in many different ways, probably involving the writing on top of that. But let's get away from that. Let's get to the actual information that happened on July 3rd in regards to Starfield, and Emil Padiuro tweeted this. What are some maybe unexpected bits of sci-fi that have inspired you? For me, Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers, late 70s TV. Battle of the Planets, late 70s anime, Heineken's book Space Cadet, and PC games Starflight 2400 AD and Rules of Engagement. Now, I actually googled a couple of these things and nothing came up like at all, like for Starflight and stuff like that. So I don't know if he's making typos here or if he has just played and seen such like low-key unknown stuff that there's just nothing to find if you Google it. But nonetheless, Emil did list some stuff here that I do know about, and basically the overall TL Doctor summary of everything that Emil has listed here, if you're not familiar with this stuff, is it basically is late 70s or in some circumstances early 80s sci-fi and space vibes. And here are some visual representations of what this could look like or what this could be considered. Now obviously, late 70s and early 80s sci-fi space vibes in terms of gaming and movies and anime and stuff varies from the show, from the movie, from the game, and just, you know, it just depends on what the particular piece of media is, and they all have their own take on what 70s and 80s late sci-fi is, but for the most part, it generally has and shares vibes like this. So I'm wondering if perhaps Starfield 2 will take some kind of inspiration from this stuff as well, and if you consider the 10th Planet, which was the 90s version of what Starfield would have been, a 90s Bethesda Game Studios space game that was eventually cancelled and abandoned. The 10th Planet seemed to also take some inspiration from 70s sci-fi as well. So I think with the 10th Planet in mind and this recent Emil Padiuro tweet in mind as well, it seems almost certain that Starfield will have some inspiration from late 70s and early 80s sci-fi and space anime, movies, and games, and perhaps some of the stuff that Emil listed here. Now, of course, Emil doesn't just straight come out and say that Starfield is inspired by any of this stuff, but he does literally say #Starfield here. So, I mean, there's probably going to be the naysayers in the comments and stuff saying, but Emil didn't say Starfield. Yeah, bro, he did. He literally did. He said #Starfield. So settle down, go outside, change your life, and then come back and leave a comment that makes sense. But basically, the TL Doctor of this entire thing is a few days ago, Emil Padiuro tweeted about some of the stuff that inspired him in regards to space and sci-fi, and it's all basically 70s and early 80s stuff, and then he put #Starfield there. So yeah, Starfield is inspired by late 70s and early 80s sci-fi and space stuff. And of course, this is blowing up all over the internet. People on Reddit are talking about this. I mean, I feel like anytime any Bethesda anyone ever says anything that could have anything to do with space or sci-fi or Starfield, people are gonna blow up about it, and some freaking YouTuber will make a video where he talks about it. Imagine that. Imagine being a YouTuber that talks about a tweet from Emil Padiuro. Oh, wait. And then the last thing I want to talk about in today's video, which is that old-fashioned 2018 Todd Howard interview that no one seems to have heard about from Game Reactor. And the reason I'm talking about this in today's video is because, yes, this interview is popping up all over my Discord, all over other Discords, on the Starfield subreddit, on forums, in my backyard falling from the sky somehow, at Walmart, in the checkout section. This is all over the place for some reason, so I decided now would be a good time to give you my take on this interview. Now, this interview is between Game Reactor and whoever Todd Howard is. I don't know who Todd Howard is, sarcasm, but this is a very interesting interview where they no doubt talk about post-E3 2018 announcements, including Starfield. And the Starfield information pops up after the 7-minute mark, and there are a couple of very interesting things from Todd Howard in which he talks about in this interview. And the main thing I want to say here is Todd Howard says that, yes, Starfield is going to be a familiar game from Bethesda Game Studios that you would expect in regards to a single-player RPG. They'll do some things that they've done before, but also Starfield is going to do some very interesting stuff that Bethesda Game Studios has never done before. And when you just think of like a sequel to a game, that seems kind of obvious, right? It's always a given for the most part that a sequel to a game franchise or the newest game of a long-existing game franchise will obviously do things that previously haven't been done before. Fallout 4 did settlement building, which wasn't done before in a Fallout game. Skyrim did, the Thune, the shouting, which wasn't done before in an Elder Scrolls game. So that makes me wonder, what is Starfield going to do that hasn't been done in a previous Bethesda Game Studios game? Obviously, we could take this to many different directions. We could say, oh, there's worlds with no gravity, and Bethesda hasn't done that before. Or we can say that there's space flight, and you can fly a spaceship around and actually drive vehicles, which Bethesda Game Studios hasn't done before. Or they could say that you can summon Todd Howard as a companion in the game, and Bethesda Game Studios hasn't done that before. I mean, this statement in itself is another one of those Bethesda Game Studios statements that the community could just be posting about endlessly, wondering what it could mean. But in my opinion, and judging by what the majority of the gaming community seems to think from this statement, it probably means spaceflight, or at least vehicle control of some capacity, because I don't know what else Todd Howard could mean here. I mean, he could literally mean something as small as there being various gravity on different planets, or just different, atmospheres and stuff. We don't know exactly what Todd Howard means by this, but nonetheless, this interview is being shared around again, and it seems like most people are excited about Todd Howard saying they're going to be doing things they haven't done before, which, I mean, yay. Cool. Todd Howard also reiterates that Bethesda kind of got tired of doing Elder Scrolls and then Fallout, and then Elder Scrolls and then Fallout, and then basically being stuck in this cycle of continuously working between the two universes. This is something Todd Howard has brought up in a lot of the early Starfield interviews, and no doubt it's being brought up in this one again. However, it seems like after Starfield, they're going to go back to being in that same cycle between Elder Scrolls and Fallout, but now also Starfield. Unless you're Todd Howard, then you get to work with Machine Games and Lucasfilm Games and make Indiana Jones. But then the last thing that I want to end today's video on, which in my opinion is the most exciting thing that Todd Howard says in this interview, and again, it's something that Todd Howard has said in a lot of early Starfield interviews, is that Starfield is the game that not only he has been wanting to make for a long time, but that a lot of people at Bethesda Game Studios have actually been wanting to play for a long time. So, apparently Starfield is a game that hasn't really been done before, according to Todd Howard. Whatever Starfield is, and whatever kind of gameplay Starfield does, it's something unique in the gaming industry that hasn't exactly been done before, according to Todd Howard in this interview. And on top of all that, Starfield is the game that Todd Howard and a lot of Bethesda Game Studios developers have been wanting to play forever. So with that in mind, whatever Starfield is, it's something we haven't exactly played before in its entirety. It does things that no other game has done before somehow, and it's something that a lot of game developers have been wanting to play, at least centric to Bethesda Game Studios. So, I mean, this is another one of those things that we could just take in 100 different directions. Like, what kind of stuff does Starfield do that hasn't been done in gaming before? Like I just talked about in this video, apparently it does stuff that Bethesda Game Studios haven't done before. But then in that same interview, Todd Howard says it's stuff that gaming hasn't been done before. So it's like there's a lot of different statements in this short interview, in these few minutes about Starfield, that Todd Howard says. Some stuff that almost doesn't necessarily contradict each other, but seems to just be exacerbated a bit because he begins begins by saying that Starfield will do things Bethesda Game Studios hasn't done before, and then he continues on by saying it's stuff that gaming hasn't been done before, stuff that no one else has done in the sci-fi space game, and stuff that Bethesda and Todd Howard have been wanting to make and play for a long time. So, I mean, there's some stuff that's kind of been repeated or stuff that's already been known about in this interview, but then there's some stuff that hasn't exactly been said before. This is Todd Howard saying this is something that we haven't seen in gaming yet, and something that has me super excited now. Now, before I repeat myself like 10 times about this, I just want to say that a random interview from 2018 can still get me super hyped, and this is an interview that I no doubt have covered on our channel before, but it's something that doesn't seem to be common knowledge in the community right now. The fact that this interview is popping up again out of nowhere for some reason leads me to believe that the majority of the community don't know about this, which is why I decided to talk about it in today's video. But nonetheless, we got some new kind of information, or at least a new event from Emil Pagliaro in the last few days to talk about in regards to visual inspiration and just the vibe and tone that Starfield may have, being that it is inspired by late 70s sci-fi, and now we have this 2018 Starfield interview being revisited by the community and actually having some information that I don't think is quite common knowledge as of right now. But nonetheless, that's going to finish up everything I wanted to talk about in today's video. Hopefully you all had a good holiday weekend here in the United States. Apparently someone tried to blow up my house with a mortar shell, so that's fun. I mean, it was obviously an accident, but still super annoying going outside to see my entire porch on fire almost, and then shrapnel damage in my house, but whatever, that sucks. But nonetheless, if you enjoyed the content, and if you're excited for Starfield and beyond, be sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn notifications on. And also share the video. Sharing the video is the best way you can help grow a channel and a community. And as always, huge shout out, much appreciation to everyone that has supported the channel over on Ko-fi, Patreon, or here on YouTube as an exclusive channel member. Now that the holiday weekend is over with, I am finishing up that list where I will be featuring and shouting out everyone that has supported the channel ever. So if you want to get a permanent future video shout out here on the channel, and at the end of every single one of my future videos, you can support the channel over on Ko-fi, Patreon, or here on YouTube as an exclusive channel member. Links for all this and more are down in the description below, and as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when someone finds an interview from 1977 with Todd Howard and Starfield information. I feel like the closer we get to Starfield's release date, like people just suddenly are finding older and older interviews that they had no idea existed. But I mean, that's cool. That's cool.
It just works.